Hi Maniacs! Today we do indeed have a very special opening ahead of us. I wanted us to do something kind of special for the holiday season, and I also wanted us to have a bit more stuff to open while we discuss something that's super important in terms of starting your very own Pokemon card business. My name is Julie, I run a small Pokemon card business, and I also do content creation within the Pokemon space full time. If it's your first time here, welcome in. I hope you enjoy the content, and please hit the like button and subscribe if you aren't already. Let's rip up this super premium collection while I talk to you guys about how you can actually start and or run your Pokemon card business without having any access to distribution of Pokemon products. There she is. Evolution sleeves. Eevee deck box, Blackstar promo, playmat, and our pack selection is 15 packs of Prismatic evolutions. I can't remember the last time I had the opportunity to open this much Prismatic evolution in one sitting, and I'm kind of scared that we are going to leave disappointed, but I have my hopes up. When I first started my Pokemon card business, it was kind of something that happened after doing content for a bit of a while. I know that I've told this story multiple times on the channel, but I just feel like it's kind of an important part of the history. For me, the biggest struggle was actually kind of fitting into the market. At the time when I started, which was over a year ago, not that much had happened in the market for a while, so it was much easier to kind of fit in, do content and do something different. But the market definitely boomed soon after I actually started doing any type of content and kind of business stuff in the Pokemon space. So with the market taking off and more businesses opening up, I felt like it was kind of a good time to actually learn a lot about the business and how to really do a business model that works without having proper product distribution and without having the same access as a lot of the competitors in the market had at the time. Also, with the rise of interest in Pokemon, the rise in prices, came a lot more content creators. I know I was also early part of that wave, so I know the content creators that have been doing it for years probably feel the same way about me. But a lot of new content creators started creating a lot more competition on the content side as well. And that also led to more small businesses opening up and entrepreneurs kind of emerging from all sides of the Pokemon community. So it's kind of starting out in a pretty strong spot in the market, but then also becoming super hard to really compete very early on because a lot of people who are, very charismatic, very good. Oh, an EX. A lot of the people who were doing well in the market, being very charismatic on camera, doing great content, posting very frequently, being good at what they're doing, all in all, made it a lot harder to compete for views, followers, and also doing business. For me personally, I do live in Denmark. I know I mentioned this a lot, but I think it's also important in terms of the height Pokemon has seen in my side of the world and in my country. It's been super crazy, and a lot of people have had emerging small businesses come up over this last year and a half period. So outside of, me doing content that's more internationally facing, of course I do vend in Scandinavia the most when I'm actually out at shows. So it really also does mean something in terms of what I'm able to do and where the customers are going and how much competition there actually is. But getting into the nitty-gritty kind of stuff about what to do when you don't have distribution, I think it's super important that you know what your niche is. So for some people it's graded cards, for some people it's raw cards, for some people it's sealed. Maybe you do something super specific like vintage packs, maybe modern packs, maybe ETBs, maybe Poké Center stuff. But I do think it's super important, especially if you can't get proper distribution like a lot of us haven't been able to and still can't probably for a while. I think the best thing you can actually do is definitely find a niche where you can also have more knowledge maybe than your competition. So let's say that you are looking to get a lot of slabs in your stock and that's kind of what you are specialized in, or maybe that's what you're passionate about. You can definitely look, at the private market and buy up stuff that kind of fits your scheme, kind of fits what you're looking for, fits exactly what your expertise really caters to. So in that sense, you are actually not really just a regular store like whatever, toy shops that are around that also carry Pokemon, but doesn't necessarily have any expertise in certain fields. You can really become an expert within the niche that you are, I don't know, maybe that's the most available or the one with the lowest cost to enter. I mean, if you're doing graded cards, of course they come at a premium compared to raw cards, right? But if you are doing graded cards, you might not do PSA 10s, you might do 8s because you find them to be the most interesting and being in the best shape in terms of price as well. Or maybe you are going for vintage cards that don't have a high price ticket just because they are in a tin, and then you can really make a buck by flipping those or collecting sets. Oh, that's a Master Ball, cool. And a Snorlax. So my point being that no matter what you really do or want to focus on within your business, I think it's important to find one field and get good at it. I think Ryan from Pokémon is a pretty good example of that. He also has a channel where he talks a lot about business. I guess most of you probably know him already. But he was starting, I think, with Japanese Charizard promos that he found at a good price and then just bought a ton of them to resell. You know, he made it easier for the customer because he had a lot of them. He had a website. He was within the US, so I guess a lot of US customers who weren't able to originally find these Japanese promos suddenly were able to buy them within the country. So that's what I mean. You don't necessarily have to do anything that's super specific or hard to get or expensive for that matter. So I think it's super important to kind of shift focus to be more, how can I put my expertise into this product that is already a product, and you know, a pack of Prismatic Evolutions is, unless it's, I don't know, weighed and CT scanned or whatever, this is the same pack whether you buy it from me, your local TCG store, online from a known reseller, whatever it is. The product is usually the same because it's all Pokemon, it's all the same packs if you are going for the same product, right? So I think how you get success is definitely finding out exactly what you are good at, what you're good at selling, and what you are good at, of course, also buying, flipping. That's a big part of it. So if you do really want to find something that's specific, for me it wasn't really a specific type of product. I think the content side of things and being vending and kind of, I try to do more like I don't know if you can call it an aesthetic Pokemon brand, but that's kind of how I see it, at least with my clear branding when I'm out vending. Maybe I can throw up a photo. But I try to be very expressive about what the brand is, who I am, where you can find me on social media and stuff like that. So it kind of all ties together and feels more maybe community-like. I do think a lot of other stores and creators are very good at that as well. So it's not necessarily something that makes me stand out incredibly much on the market. But I do think it's what differentiates you from, I don't know, maybe less ambitious local card store or someone who doesn't really have the time or the ability to do social media as much. So I think step 1 is definitely, finding your niche, and step 2 will be figuring out exactly how you can source your products in a way that still is, you know, worth it for you in terms of the finances you would have to put into it. So if it is, let's say it's promo cards or graded cards, doesn't really matter. You'll have to figure out if there is some way that you can have access to these products easier. It could be buying in bulk from, you know, just a local card shop. That's an opportunity you might take if they offer any discounts. But I would say for me, it was really going to the private market and flipping stuff when either, you know, values were rising, or I also find that, at least in Denmark, we compare prices a lot to card markets, sometimes to eBay as well, but it's kind of different if you aren't really able to buy things from eBay in Denmark. You are, but you have to pay VAT and taxes and everything on top of that. So a lot of people would just prefer not to. And also with Card Market, it's an amazing platform, and we do it for, you know, the way that you would use TCG Player in America, I guess, you would use Card Market in Europe to do, you know, pricing and check up prices, market price, anything like that. But I also find that customers at like vending, if you are vending locally at a card show, people, oh my god, I just thought. I do see something, however, I think it's an ace bag. Okay, what I was trying to say is, people do want to pay a little extra to actually have the item in hand. Of course, that's a big win for the brick and mortar stores, because I think they can capitalize on this, where as an only online reseller as me personally, it's kind of hard. But that's when you actually have the advantage when you go out and vend from time to time. Okay, an ace pack and a Pokeball and an EX, that's cool. So the advantage definitely comes in being able to maybe vend once in a while. I do think that something that a lot of other like business creators in the Pokemon space has been mentioning is that it's kind of stupid if you kind of break the bank or take away all your profits by, you know, spending an entire weekend at a card show. If you would have to pay yourself like a regular salary, how much would you actually have to pay yourself to, you know, be working that full weekend? And also, if you are driving very far, gas is not really cheap anymore. So time, expenses in terms of getting there, and also the risk of product being ruined during transportation, damaged in any way, or having stuff stolen at card shows has been on the rise as well. So I think you have to calculate these risks if you are thinking about taking your small business to the next level and going vending. But on the other hand, if you would just sit at home, watch, I don't know, Pokemon YouTube videos anyway, I think you could, you know, pack up your stuff and go 1 hour drive and set up, I don't know, 1 table and 1 case of maybe slabs, singles, whatever you are specialized in at that point. I do think that that can be a good win also for branding purposes. I know that a lot of people say, and also in my experience, it's kind of hard with the branding. Not necessarily because people forget you, but even me with a lot of, like I have my brand colors, I have everything, you know, my username and everything is all over my vending stand, but still people are confused about where they are shopping. You know, they would go to the vendor table next to me that looks completely different and they will ask me about the price or something. And, you know, so when you are at a card show like that, I know for myself as a customer and a goer, you just don't really have eyes for the branding necessarily. You're just looking for good deals, you're having fun, you're enjoying the hobby. You're not necessarily that focused on whatever, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube person, me, who is trying to push her brand to you so that whenever you see my website come up on Google, you feel more, you know, secure in purchasing from me because you've seen me in real life. So I know it can be very hard to convert like your brand and sales and leads from the actual physical location that you are vendoring to like online customers. However, I would say that I think it's a very good way to maybe make more profit off of, at least for me, I think singles and slabs are selling at a higher rate when I'm out at vending at shows, and I do have a harder time selling them online because, you know, the price is not the same, and I also get a bit more picky if I know I can get, I don't know, 20% more because we are out vending, right? Of course, there's more expenses, so we do need to cover that, which is also why prices would make sense that they are higher. But you get my drift. If you are starting up, if you're new, if you are trying to, you know, make as much money as humanly possible because you don't have the big, large margins that, you know, companies with distribution have, I do think it's worth taking into consideration that you might be able to make a bigger amount of money going out and being in person at whatever bigger or smaller card show, wherever you can kind of, you know, manage to fit in. So that's another thing, but necessarily don't do it for the branding. I think people are not that good at remembering. But I will say, like, now I've been out 4 times with my shop, and I think people actually know me by now because I've been there multiple times. So you might not be able to just do it as a one-time thing, but if you are continuously going and showing up and doing awesome stuff and having good repeat customers, it can definitely do something for your brand. All in all, the strategy is find something you're good at, find something where you stand out, or choose the type of product that you can get your hands on. I mean, if it's an accessory game, do something along the lines of, like, I don't know, a mystery bag or something like that. Something where you can actually make money off of the product that you're able to get, and not necessarily settling with the type of product you can get, but figuring out how you can, you know, make money around that. Especially when the market is changing so rapidly as we're seeing right now. I do think it's important that you kind of keep your head up and get very creative. That is also the process that I'm in right now. And I think it's super duper important that you just keep your head down, keep working, keep being creative with whatever it is that you're doing, and the niches that you are trying to kind of fit into. I think you can do a lot of things, and you know, everything has probably been done before, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just look at the people who are successful and find maybe a new angle, or take something that you see in another space. Like we have, I don't know, Winnie the Pooh collectors. I think that's big in Asia or something. see what content creators are doing there, or see what exactly they are doing in terms of branding, marketing. I don't know, what are they offering? Is it bigger bundles? Are they offering, you know, to view collections? You know, trade-ins is big in the Pokemon space. Can you do something about trade-ins because you are smaller business? Maybe you can offer more, like you can maybe offer 80-90% of market instead of some people offering, I don't know, 60 or 70%, right? So that's also something I think is worth taking into consideration, that you are maybe more agile as a small business. You can do things differently. You probably might be motivated to work more hours if possible. So I do think it's about taking all the chances that you get and creating the ones that you don't. And of course, it's always nice to get distribution, but it also requires a big fat paycheck to actually pay for the products. And we have no exceptional hits. One Master Ball, guys. Yeah, that's the deal with Prismatic. I hope you enjoyed this rant about what we can actually do when entering the market as Pokemon businesses and as content creators, because I do think for me that goes hand in hand. As I mentioned in a previous video, I think it's about personal branding. That's super big on my agenda. But yeah, we do have to find our way in, and I think niching down and getting good at something, or just staying in the lane where you are really, really good and have a lot of expertise, I think that's the way to go. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being disappointed in Prismatic Evolutions together with me today. It was awesome. Have an awesome day. I wish you a Merry Christmas if you're celebrating. And I hope I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification. And also, I think you would really enjoy the video that is up on the screen right now. So if you don't have anything else to do right now, stay with me and enjoy this video. Thank you guys. Bye bye.